How you doing?
I'm good, and yourself?
Good, thank you.
Good. You're Brandon, I'm Leo.
Yes.
Um, you're in the consulting space, is that correct?
Yeah, we did speak a few weeks ago,
Okay.
right? You probably talked to a lot of people, right?
I speak to about 60 to 80 people a day
Oh, wow.
over email and Zoom calls.
Right.
In fact, I just had a conversation with a billion-dollar tech company. The valuation was over $1 billion. So you want to focus more. I just looked at your Facebook page. You want to focus more on startup construction companies, turning tradespeople into companies. Is that correct?
That's one approach. Yes, the other one is scaling existing companies. So I work with a couple existing companies right now. That one of them is a form worker who does, they do some architectural stuff, they do some structural stuff, but they want to advance and become a general contractor. So I'm kind of helping them with that. And then I do have some other interested clients, I guess, that are tradespeople, and they want to just basically start their own companies. So yeah, those are my two kind of niche markets. And then I do like one-off estimates on the side, but that's not something I'm really pushing.
Right. Okay. The conversation is starting to sound familiar. And I think we talked about turning tradespeople into business owners is going to be a very hard sell.
Yeah.
They have an extreme, well, I shouldn't generalize, but most of them have an extremely closed mind attitude. And I think there's a reason why they decided to work with their hands is because they don't really look for options. And they only saw options as to working with their hands. So I'm not saying it's impossible to make them a successful business owner, but fuck, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Even business owners have a very, very closed mind, and it's hard to turn them around to look at opportunities.
Right.
So
I agree. And there's a lot of ego in the industry as well, right? So it's hard to tell somebody, you're doing this wrong, or like, let me give you some advice on how to do this better, because they think that they're doing it all correctly.
Instant enemies that way.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, our last conversation was great. I got a lot out of it. And I think like I'm taking a coaching program right now, actually. And they don't have a lot of experience working with people in the construction industry. So a lot of the stuff that they're telling me, I'm having to kind of modify. I'm doing a lot of outreach through Facebook Messenger to try and get clients. But I find that their strategy for that is too like long-winded, and it's like, hey, how are you doing today? Good. They're like, good. And I'm like, oh, so tell me a little bit about this, tell me about that. And it's like, I'm like, no, I can't do that because I'm just losing them. I have to be like, hey, what market are you in?
Forget the previous conversation, right?
Pardon me?
They forget the previous conversation, so you have to start all over again almost every day.
Yeah.
And it won't scroll up.
Yeah.
So it's a tough grind. My suggestion to you is if you want to get a little more traction, get on the phone.
Yeah. That's what I was doing previously. But now, I mean, obviously there's a lot of like the market is bigger in Facebook groups and everything. So I'm trying to figure out like the sweet spot where I can engage with them on Facebook and then switch them to a phone call pretty quick.
Or just get on the phone.
Just find your phone number.
Just get on the phone.
Yeah.
Right?
How do you do that?
Well, I'm not saying this because because I think it's the right way to do it. There's statistics. I used to work for an 85-year-old company, and their process never changed, right? They get the phone number, they have the telemarketing department call them to set up an appointment for the salespeople, and the salespeople set up an appointment for the analyst, who was me. Then I set up a contract for the team to come in to fix. So, I mean, for 85 years, right? Even though there's better technology supposedly, but there's nothing. Our attention span, the contractor's attention span, to do it by social media, to do it by group, and to have them remember you from the last great advice you gave them yesterday or 2 weeks ago, is going to be forgotten. So you're going to be repeating that process year after year after year, and they don't have the capacity to retain anything, because their mind, even though you gave them great advice, their mind is, what do I have to do tomorrow? Or what else is shiny, right? What else is shiny for me right now? Because it's about instant gratification. And the advice that you're giving them about fixing their business is not instant gratification.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be lost. And yeah, you might have success 1 in a million, right? I did meet one guy that sounded very focused on Facebook groups, actually. And he was asking questions. He was asking the group questions. How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I go from doing 1 roof a week to doing 2 roofs a week? Right? He was asking the right questions. Then when I suggested we have a coffee Zoom call, that was too threatening for him. Even though
I don't understand that.
Yeah, but that's the way it is, right? So, I mean, what I should have done after he asked the questions, find his phone number, get him on the phone, and basically have a line that says, I've helped X number of companies get to whatever level. Would it be a bad idea to have a 5-minute conversation with me? You got to have that hook, right? And then if they say, well, it's not convenient now, great. When is it convenient? Right? Tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Great. Any chance you can have your wife on that call tomorrow? And can we make it a Zoom call as opposed to a phone call?
Right.
Right. And you basically have 3 minutes. If you're lucky, you might have 30 seconds to get their attention.
Yeah.
And your goal is to get them to cry.
Yeah. Yeah. We talked about that last time as well, just like trying to make such a big impact on them, right? And yeah, I mean, like before I was doing this coaching program, I was doing outreach on the phone, but I was just doing it randomly. It wasn't like, I was calling companies that I knew of. They're probably too big for me to work with right now anyways. I need to get some experience behind me first. So this way I'm finding more smaller contractors who are, they just started their business. Like I've talked to a few people on Zoom. It seems easy to strike up a conversation, but it's hard to get them on the phone. Even if you say like, hey, I'll give you a free 15, 30-minute phone call. And I'll definitely add some value. There's no obligation. If we're a good fit, we can continue to work together. If not, take what you learned and good luck.
Yeah, I would stop doing that because I don't think that's going to work. I would get them on the phone and say, hey, we're just having a conversation on Facebook. I thought it would be easier to have a phone conversation instead of going back and forth on Facebook.
Yeah.
It's easier to apologize than to ask for permission. Don't ask for permission.
Do you find that they're like, how did you get my phone number?
Oh, I just looked on Facebook. And by the way, your internet connection is pretty slow, and there's a huge echo.
I'm gonna open my window. I'm not worried. Sometimes that closed door just cuts off the connection.
Okay, well,
But,
you're right now, so that's weird. Okay. You're yellow.
Better now?
What I was saying, you're sporadic between yellow and white now. What I'm saying is you need to figure out whether if you present the right opportunity with these people, whether they're going to act on it. There's no point in investing months and weeks with these people if at the end of the day, they're not going to act, right?
Yeah.
So you need to put the opportunity in front of them as quickly as possible and have them make a decision.
Yeah. I guess I'm having a tough time articulating that opportunity as well. Like I say, like, you know, I typically try to get them to tell me what their problem is. And then I say, like, you know, I can help you with that. Would you like to jump on a quick phone call? Or like, what do you think about jumping on a phone call? And then often
Well,
like
that sounds very salesy. Very salesy. Okay. Yeah. If someone said that to you, you'd say, no, 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 I'm good. Right? Don't sound salesy. You know, you already know their biggest problem is they can't find quality tradespeople. You already know that's their biggest complaint, right?
Yeah.
So ask them, are you having any trouble finding quality people? Because if you can't delegate, how can you possibly get off tools? Right?
For sure.
So allow them to bitch a little bit. Then I would use a case study as to, you know, we just helped a 26-year-old roofing company triple their workforce in 4 months. You don't have to triple your workforce, but what about adding 1 or 2 key people to allow you to get off tools?
Yeah. I don't know that I can deliver on that. That's so hard to do in this market.
I told you I just got off the phone with $1 billion company who offered me a 2% stake for advising them. They offered it, but then again, it was the 5th call. They offered me a 2% stake. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. No, I'm not interested in 2%. I bring a lot more to the table than 2%. But 2% of $1 billion company, think about that, right? But the reason I got their attention and the reason they came back on the 5th call, and we scheduled another call for next week, is the fact that I'm bringing value to them. I'm using previous techniques that I've used in the construction industry by pulling companies together because they're trying to create a differentiator for themselves when they really should be partnering with other companies to solve problems that are ahead of theirs so they can solve their problems. Their problems are never going to be number one. So them trying to get attention from companies like General Motors, Remax, American Express, and those companies, right, is going to be very difficult unless you solve their major problem. The first problem they have is they have no traction gaining market share. So by pulling with other companies who have success in that area, now you're going in as a team of companies, as opposed to one company trying to create a differentiation in the tech space. How many companies are in the tech space, right? And they've got no differentiation, right? So you got to offer something real to these companies, right? Something they can grab onto and say, yeah, I need that.
Yeah, those are the 2 biggest things is like, can't find the right team members or qualified or reliable team members, or I can't get leads, or I'm not converting my estimates into projects. I'm estimating too many projects and I'm not winning the jobs.
Yeah, in other words, they're attracting the wrong clients. They're not attracting profitable clients. So as soon as you talk about leads, if a client talks about leads, they've got the wrong clients. Right? So you got to read between the lines. And again, you have 30 seconds to 3 minutes. You got to read between the lines where you're getting your leads from. Can we agree that those are the wrong people for you? All right. If you can get them to start agreeing with you, then you can get them on the Zoom call. But on the Zoom call, eventually you want to have their key people, the wife. The wife has to be there. The wife is the one that's going to help them make the decisions to go your way. If she's not there, if she's not on board, she's going to sabotage everything you're trying to do. Okay? So if you can get the right-hand man, the wife, the accountant, the bookkeeper, the lawyer, whoever is a trusted advisor, has to be on that first or second call, or else you're not getting any traction.
I totally agree with you. I've definitely had people say, like, I need to talk to my wife, I need to talk to my business partners. And I even had one woman who reached out for her husband.
You're frozen. Sorry, you're frozen right now. Sorry, Brandon.
I'm interested. He said, let me talk to my wife, we'll get back to you. And I've been trying to follow up on Facebook. And then, yeah, they haven't, I said, have you found a time that works for you and your husband? No. Like, I'll get back to you. And right?
Yeah. If they can't make the decision when they have 100% of the information, they're never going to make a decision, because tomorrow they're going to remember 3% or 10% of the conversation. So if they can't make a decision right now when they have 100% of the information, how are they going to make a decision tomorrow with 3% of the information?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of pause, right? So you want to have all the decision makers in one room. You want to create enough emotion to say, yeah, I need that. What's our first step?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I have had some traction just...
Sorry?
Yeah, sorry. I have had some traction just going back and being like, hey, this is my last follow-up. I know I can help you out with this, but if you don't want to do it, I'll stop bothering you. And then there's sometimes they're like, yeah, okay, like, no, I want you, just been busy, like, let's hop on a call.
Yeah.
So it's definitely like the more like straightforward and like value-based conversation is way better than just trying to chit chat with them, because they don't have time for that, right?
Why are you and I having this conversation?
I'm trying to suck some of your knowledge.
Okay. So that's a benefit to you. What's the benefit to me?
That's what I asked you last time. And you said, as we work together, eventually I'll refer people to you, and you will potentially refer people to me.
You need to surround yourself with a lot of people. Okay.
Yeah.
And you have to they need to read in your body language that this guy, Branden, is really here to help me. Right. Yeah. And even if you refer them to a great interior designer or dog walker or dog trainer or whatever it is, they have to see that. Okay. Mm-hmm. And this is where the groups, the CEO clubs and networking groups and stuff like that, if you can portray that body language to 20 people in the group, you're more likely to land someone and have a conversation with them, right? And I've been struggling with that. I've been struggling with that because I keep sabotaging myself as well, because my major agenda doesn't meet with my main agenda. I already told you that I lost my LinkedIn profile 6 times already. I think you froze again.
Might have lost it.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. You said your major, and then I lost you.
My major agenda is conflicting with my main agenda. Mm-hmm. Right. And I told you that I lost my LinkedIn profile 6 times.
Yes.
So I've been trying to redesign networking events for 20 years now, because I believe that every business needs to network.
Yeah.
Right. But the problem is I'm I find a partner in you that believes in it, but doesn't believe enough to actually do something about it every day. Then I find 10 others, and sporadically, I can't get this orchestra to start playing at the same time. Everybody's playing their own tune, and I can't get a group of 20 or 30 or 50 people who believe in the same thing at the same time, right? Over a 50-week period, I get one a week to do it, and that doesn't work. But I believe that we should create a group, and we used to have 150 to 150 people on networking events, face-to-face networking events, and I tried to scale that to go across Canada. Then COVID hit. Then I lost my LinkedIn profiles, then after another, and I keep sabotaging myself.
Yeah.
Right. But I still believe, ultimately, if you want to have a lot of clients and a conveyor belt of clients, you need to have a system like that. All right.
Right.
So I'm thinking your best solution short term is to get on the phone with these people and don't promote yourself. Do not promote yourself. Oh, promote your estimating service. Start the conversation by promoting your estimating service. Bring that to the next level, sub it out to your employees in the Philippines, and double check every figure until you know they can be trusted, right? Start delivering that service, start delivering clientele with that service as an introduction to your consulting service. That would be one strategy. It's a long way around, but that would be one strategy.
Because still making income at that point too.
Yes, steady income, especially, and you can become very competitive if you have employees in the Philippines that are doing 90% of the work, right?
Yeah, you said this last time, and so I did go into some of these DA groups, and I talked to some people from the Philippines, and their estimates to me to do the work were more than I'm charging my clients. Okay. So I'm like, no, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously they want to make as much money as possible, and they don't understand who you are. So you need to sell them just because they want more than you. Well, I was about to give you an example, but it's it's a trade secret. We build more than 1,000 websites per year. Most websites range between 2,500 and 2,700, right? It costs me less than $300. So some of the partners that I have, in this case in India, as opposed to the Philippines, I did try for the Philippines. We came up with a partnership. They tried to charge me $2,500, and I said, no, we build 1,000 websites a year. There's no way you're going to charge me that much. Yeah. I can get websites done for $175, right? But I want to pay people well, so they're doing good work, and I don't have to do a lot of supervision. And this is why I gave them that option. I even split the profit with them. Okay. So there are ways to negotiate when you're talking about volume, but you got to have the volume to back it up. Yeah.
So my web developer is from India, and he charges me $100 for a WordPress website, and then his friend charges me $150 for SEO optimization. So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely on that as well. But yeah, I agree with the volume. Like, I worked with a guy from Pakistan on the estimating. He was cheap. He told me, yes, I can do anything. I'm an expert in all scopes of work, blah, blah, blah. And that's automatically red flag, right? And then I was like, okay, here's a drawing for you to do. I gave him like a paint takeoff, and he came back to me and he hadn't, subtracted for openings, or like, it was just done incorrectly. So I had to do it all myself. I gave him another opportunity for a job. He's like, no, it's done perfect. It's done perfect. And he's just super argumentative. And I was just like, okay, I can't do this. So I've been trying to find like a competent estimator for a reasonable price that I can trust in, but that's difficult as well.
Okay. Training is going to be a huge part of what you have to do. So you should have at least 20 training videos done about takeoffs.
I've started that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So training is something you have to do every day. And even when we hire virtual assistants, I have at least 15 different videos that they have to watch first before the first interview.
Mhm.
If they don't watch it, I ask them one question that has been answered multiple times on these training videos. If they can't answer the question, it means they haven't watched it. It means I'm wasting my time, and I say, see you. Right? If you're not serious about this process, then don't waste my time. I told you that I would pay you if you were successful for that, right? I will pay you for your training if you're successful. If you're the wrong candidate, I'm not going to pay you, right? So you got to have that system in place to get rid of the tire kickers, or else you're going to waste a lot of time.
For sure.
So I'm half-heartedly saying that you need to have the estimating company in place, because it's going to detract you or take focus away from your consulting business. But unless you have a trust foundation in place, it's hard to develop a consulting company without a solid foundation in place. So
would you recommend that I reach out to my past estimating clients then as like a first go-to for like consulting clients?
Yeah, because you have trust with them already. They already know who you are and what kind of work you do, right? But the disadvantage there is that they're going to see you as an estimator. You're an estimator, Brenden. How can you help me redesign my company? How can you double the size of my company? I don't get it. Right? So you're going to have that issue, and you better solve that issue before the conversation, right? You got to start with, me as an estimator, but before I became an estimator was a part-time business that my partner runs. What I do on a full-time basis is I redesign companies. And again, I believe I told you I would start with 3 companies, work for them for free in exchange for a testimonial. Preferably someone who already has a Facebook or LinkedIn presence and has followers, who is vocal, right? People already know them. And when they say, hey, I just work with, I'm really happy with the new direction in my company. I have a great advisor, and now I'm getting some free time. My wife is happy. I'm spending more time with my kids and stuff like that. They don't necessarily have to mention you directly, because that may sound too salesy. But if people start asking, well, who's helping you? Right? They might get private messages saying, who are you working with? But if he does that a number of times, that should get you some business. I believe I just got reached out from a client that I worked with in the past, and she runs a cleaning company, and she's never, aside from the first couple of payments, she made a couple of payments, and she never made another payment. She always made payments by referrals. Right? And I credit her account each client that she brought me. Right? That is more valuable to you than someone paying you $1,500 a month. Right? Because they carry influence, and influence is a much better currency than US or Canadian dollar. So to answer the question that I asked you before, The reason why I'm helping you is because ultimately I know you can help me.
Right.
Instead of promoting yourself, if you don't want to promote your estimating business, I would suggest you promote my services and the services that I could sub back to you. Right? I have the credibility. I can close them. I can get the job. Then I can easily sub 100% of the job back to you, assuming that we have a vision and we're producing the same type of results.
Right. Yeah. I mean, what would that look like? Like, what do you have a typical program? Is it like a unique, customized approach for each client?
What I believe I mentioned our most profitable project is what we call the interim CEO program. What we could do is you say, hey, Bob, you got to have a conversation with this guy, Leo. He's helped a few of my clients. And I sit down with them, with you on the call, or you look at the recording after the call, whatever that is, and we come up with an overall strategy. Right? We need to come up with a business blueprint, aggressive marketing system, a system to attract and train quality employees, and so on. So we create the overall strategy. We want to take them from 800,000 to 1.5. That's the first step. Okay. I get him to agree on it. I get him to agree that he's going to pay on a monthly basis. And we're going to help him with his marketing program. Then you take over 100% of that project, because I'm not interested in being day-to-day involved in a client like that.
Right.
Okay. So we come up with a strategy that you get 100% of the fee and you pay me 20% or something.
Right. Okay. And what do you typically sell this type of program for?
Well, the interim CEO program is $50,000 a year. Chances are he's not going to go for that, but you always offer 5 different things. Okay, even a contractor, you offer 5 different prices.
Right.
You generally pick the second lowest one. Whatever the second lowest one is, that's what you're trying to sell anyways. But you're trying to create this system where they don't want to feel like they're absolutely the cheapest guy possible. And that's why they usually choose the second lowest one. All right. So when you have a strategy like that, you increase your sales, because now they're not comparing Brenden with the other 5 guys they know. They're trying to see which package the Brenden offers, or Leo offers in this case. And they're focused on that. And that's crucial.
That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a good option for sure, especially for more established companies. A good way to get into that market. Just basically leveraging off your experience, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And we both benefit.
Yeah, exactly.
And over time, you're building your own credibility.
Yeah.
Right. And it doesn't matter whether you reach out, to $20 million plumbing companies or $1 million contractors. Right? I wouldn't spend too much time on turning contractors into business owners, because that's a long road. But when you're on posts, how much time do you spend on Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups? Are almost impossible to get traction or get comments, but Facebook groups, everybody comments, and that's a beautiful thing, right? So I would start. How many Facebook groups do you belong to?
Probably 5 to 10 that are relevant.
Okay. The one that I find that I get the most traction out of is Construction Pros.
I'm part of that one, yeah.
Okay. I would post on that group daily.
Yeah.
Daily. And and I'm testing between having a picture and not having a picture. But post on a daily, but try not to post too salesy of a type of comment, because you don't want to come across as being salesy.
That's what I do today.
What happened today?
Well, I posted on a couple of the estimating groups, just like, you know, if you need estimating, reach out, I can help you out. And then I posted on a few of the local contractors groups for Vancouver and Vancouver Island. Just basically like, I can help you with the business side of your business. I can help you with everything from marketing, blah, 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 estimating, winning more jobs. Reach out if you need help. And I've actually had, that was just this morning, I've had 4 people reach out so far. So, I mean, it's not horrible, but yeah, I don't like the salesy approach. Like, I would rather be adding value and gaining a following that way, for sure. But yeah.
Okay. Well, 4 people is not bad.
Yeah.
As long as you can close 4 people.
Exactly.
Right. So are these phone calls that you're having with them, or Zoom calls?
Typically, I try to run everything through a video call.
Okay.
So one person is just messaging with me right now. Another lady messaged me this morning, said she's got a painting business and she needs help with her bidding and submitting. I said, yeah, I can definitely help you with that. Like, I told her, you know, I was a project manager for Ledcor and blah, blah, blah. This other guy is just like, I don't know, seems like a tire kicker. I mean, I'll probably get 1 call from that painting lady. These other 2 could turn out to be not much, but we'll see.
What I would suggest is when you have them committed, add me to the call. Let me see if I can help you close.
That's a good idea.
I mean, it might scare them away. Like, who is this guy? Why is this guy on the call?
Mm-hmm.
But what I usually say is, are you open to a group coffee Zoom call?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Nobody asks why a group. Well, we might have another contractor joining us at that time.
So, one thing off the top of my head, I think that it might actually work is trying to re-engage some of these people who I have spoken with before and saying, you know, look, my partner Leo really wants to talk to you. I've talked to you about your situation, talk to him about your situation, and you know, if you guys can jump on a call, I know we can help you out, whatever, something.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what I want.
Mm.
Doesn't matter. Focus on them.
Mm.
You said the last time you were having a hard time finding quality tradespeople, or be specific. You had a hard time finding roofer laborers. I might have a way to help you with that. All right.
There's 2 people I can think of right now. One of them is a guy in California who told me that his business is not profitable. I had a Zoom call with him and his wife. The wife seems to be taking the lead in the business side. She said they're not making a profit. And I told him, like, I sent that message to him this week. I said, look, man, this is the last message I'm going to send you. If you want to talk, we can talk again. If not, adios. And he said, no, man, I definitely want to talk. Like, I've just been busy. So I sent him my Calendly link to book a call. He still hasn't booked a call. So the other one is that the wife, right?
I would send my tagline. My business partner has helped over 1,000 companies in the last 40 years, right? Mm-hmm. Get to $5 or $20 million. Mm-hmm. Use a lower amount because it might scare him. Do you know where he's at? Do you know in terms of revenue?
No.
Okay.
He's doing remodels, kitchen and bathroom remodels, basically in California.
In California, so maybe he's just under $1 million. So let's assume that. Yeah. You know, my business partner has helped over 1,000 companies in your situation in the last 40 years. Would it be a bad idea to sit down for 15 minutes to see if it can help you?
Mm-hmm.
right? If that doesn't get him, he's too far gone. But
Yeah.
don't send any more emails because emails don't work with him, right? Pick up the phone.
Yeah.
Okay. Pick up the
I don't
phone.
know how I find his phone number.
Easy to look it up. Just search his name, his company name. There's a, he usually has a website or a LinkedIn profile or.
Yeah, that's half the problem is he doesn't.
Yeah. Well, if he doesn't, then I'm not sure we can help him. If he doesn't understand business tools, fuck. If he's installing kitchens,
it's crazy. Like even I had one of my friends reach out to me who's been a crane operator for a long time. He wants to buy a crane. He wants to get his crane on some big sites, like like a $2-3 million tower crane. And I told him, like, do you have a website? He's like, yeah, this is it. I was like, it doesn't work. Like, where is? Oh, I don't know why. He's like, I don't need that floppy stuff. And I'm like, man, you need to set up your business. Like, you need to have that base. Like, you can't just say, hey, I'm going to provide you $1 million service on your project and not have any credibility set up, right?
Yeah.
So even getting guys to understand that, like, they need to set up their business. Like, some of what I'm saying is, like, you need to run a construction business, not a construction company. And some people just don't get that.
Yeah.
It's like you say, it's shiny object, where it's like, get the project, do the work, get paid, move on. Get the project, get the work, get paid, move on. Get the project. It's like, I don't need to worry about that other back end stuff. So
yeah. Get the crane guy on the Zoom call with his wife. I'm sure we can do something with him. Because if he's willing to invest, if he has the borrowing power to invest in a $2 or $3 million crane, he has assets, right?
Yeah, no, he does well. I did my construction management degree program with him. So like, we're not amazing friends, but we're very close acquaintances for sure. And yeah, he's been at it for a long time. But he's like, I need you to be the project manager so you can give me like the backdoor deal. You know what I mean? Like, I'll give you a cut and you get me on the project, and so really old school, like, backdoor mentality.
You need to have a beer with them.
Yeah.
You need to have a beer with them. I had beers on Friday with two guys like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but get them on the call. Where are you based? Vancouver. Beautiful city. But yeah, I think there's a lot more we could do together as opposed to individually.
Yeah. Oh, I like the idea, for sure.
And considering I lost all my leads from LinkedIn, it could help me as well. So
yeah. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm reaching out at least a couple times a week. I'm trying to do it every day, but I have all these other actual projects that I'm working on as well. So,
and that's why you need to sub it out, because consulting, actually, let me give you an example. I told you about the company this morning, but I was also offered a position, and this is, I have coffee grounds stuck in my throat, sorry. I was offered a consulting position, and I keep saying that I want to go back to corporate, especially when I lost my LinkedIn profiles. Having that credibility wiped away, I did manage to save some of the testimonials on my website, but having 127,000 connections on LinkedIn speaks volumes, right? When I was working for the 85-year-old consulting company, I was number 2 in the world. And number 1 in the world, he left and came back, and I took over the number 1 position for a while. Anyways, he left and started his own company, and that's the company who offered me a position. The starting salary would be $400,000 plus bonuses, so I would be looking at around $700,000 the first year. So the reason why I'm suggesting you concentrate on consulting is because that's where the money is. there's no money in estimating.
Yeah.
But if estimating can pay your bills, and you get enough of these projects under your belt, you turn enough companies around, I'll get you a job offer as long as you're willing to travel, as long as you're willing to do 5 flights a week and travel all over North America. Your starting salary could be $300,000 or $400,000. Okay, so I'm suggesting you go down this way because I know and I have experience that's where the money is.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to get definitely way more focused on consulting, try and sell out the estimating. I have a guy in Russia who's actually my wife's friend's husband, who's hurting for work because of all the craziness in Russia. And I've got him doing some estimates for me now, so hoping that will come into something. But I get a few estimates a week. Like I'm definitely like supporting myself on estimates at this point.
Yeah, but it's taking your focus away from consulting, right?
100%. Yeah.
There's a group on Facebook that's for virtual assistants. I've been getting quite a few virtual assistants because we hire a lot of virtual assistants. We train them for some of these smaller clients. There's got to be a group for estimating in the Philippines. You need to find 5 guys, but start the next estimate you do. Okay, take your time, record everything, and tell the people, turn it into a training video. Each estimate you do from today on, make me a promise right now that each estimate you're going to do from now on is going to be a training video. Okay.
I just started that actually last week, and I was doing one on this project that I'm working on right now. And I did like the concrete foundation, and I did the first floor of the framing, and I did that all in video. They're an hour long each. And then after that, I was like, I can't do this. I need to get this job done. So I was like,
you need what? Sorry, you can't do this.
I was like, I just need to get this job done. So I got a bit scatterbrained, and I was just like, okay, just get it done. I can't waste any more time on this.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree with you.
It's not wasting time, though. Get that out of your mind. It's not wasting your time. It's saving you a ton of time, because if you can hire 5 good estimates that went through your training video, and you could even turn those training videos into a course.
Yeah.
Right? People in the Philippines and India that want to do estimates for North America can pay for your course, take it, get qualified by you, right? And start their own businesses. Now they can be one of your subcontractors. And if you can say at the beginning of the course, if you get a B+ on my course, I will guarantee you a position in my company. That gives them the incentive to pay the $300 for your course.
Yeah. Yeah.
So turn the negative into a positive.
Yeah, no, I like that. That's a good idea for sure.
Right. And the same thing in the Philippines, you can hire people to make phone calls for you who have no accent. Okay. Who can call these contractors, and you should have a spreadsheet of these contractors you want to call. They're pre-qualified, have a minimum of 10 employees or something, and have them call and set up appointments for you. Right. And you set up Zoom calls. On the second call, you bring me in, or on the first call, whatever, but get a system in place and start turning over these people. If you can get $1,500 a month as a consulting fee to help these companies grow, you have 10 of these clients, that's where you're going to start. Right? But you got to have that system in place. You got to have that strategy.
Yeah. Right now, my program is basically 90 days, call it the 90-day contractor blueprint. And I think I sent you the schedule. I'm not sure if you had time to look at it or not, but I literally built out a schedule in Microsoft Project to show like the Gantt chart of here's where we start, here's where we finish. Start with setting up your business, your website, your social media, naming your business, all that stuff, whatever it might be, or if they're an existing company, just circling back, make sure all that foundational stuff is set up.
Yeah.
And, you know, eventually trickle
Brandon,
down.
ask me how much I hated it.
Did you hate it?
I did, because it has no emotion.
Okay.
It has absolutely no emotion, right? You gotta lead with emotion.
Right.
If you can't make these guys cry, if you can't say, you know, you really should be making $2 million a year by now, why aren't you? Right? How proud would your kids be if they knew you were making $1 million a year in a salary? You gotta have them cry, because if you can't make them cry, you're not going to get a long-term project.
I guess I'm just a very practical person. That's why. More so than an emotional
Stop
person.
using common sense. There's no such thing as common sense in business. We don't deal with logical brains. That's not how the human being functions. We function on emotion.
Right. Yeah.
You know, why do people buy, you know, purses? It's going to make them feel good. You know, status. It's emotion, right? It's emotion. So
here's a great example. Somebody they replied to my post today. I said, "Hey Troy, thanks for replying to my post. Can you tell me a bit about your business?" He said, "I'm in construction and I can't deal with the public. They seem to think I don't need my money and they don't need to pay." So, like, you know.
See, a guy like that, don't respond, call him.
Yeah.
Right? Call him. Do you have some time for, you know, 30-minute coffee Zoom call this weekend? Find out when they're available, get me on the call. Let's close a guy like that. Right? Because they need to understand, they need to have a sales and marketing department. Right? He's production, he's sales, he's everything. It's impossible to do that. Right? Yeah. And I can show him case studies of how he should be and not, and what the problems are going to be. And if you use logic and emotion at the same time and say, hey, you know, get him on the Zoom call, but get him on the phone call first, right? So I'll leave you with that.
Appreciate it, yeah. Interesting stuff for sure. And yeah, I'll try and reach out to some of these people and reconnect and see if I can get them on a three-way.
Yeah, and I always say the construction industry has been the most profitable industry since 1920. So why the hell are you having so much trouble? You're in the most profitable industry. Why are you not making a ton of money right now, today? Why aren't you using COVID as an advantage? Right? Get them to start questioning their beliefs. And when you start changing their mindset, especially with the wife present, start changing their mindset a little bit. Yeah, okay. So anyways, make at least 5 phone calls per day. All right? I'll talk to you soon, Brandon.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.